Dang, Aptera is awesome. They did it, everybody. They heard our concerns, they heard our criticisms, and I really hope that everyone complaining about the lack of DC fast charging on the launch edition Aptera didn't make Aptera feel disrespected or anything. I really still support the company, and I love their design. I love their extreme focus on efficiency, but they've changed course based on everyone's overwhelming response to the launch edition claiming they were only going to ship it with AC charging and maybe offer a retrofit for 100 miles in 10 minutes in the future. But as of today, they've made the announcement based on the community's response, that's you guys, that DC fast charging will be a standard on all Aptera vehicles, including the launch edition now, which is excellent. And at this point, they're kind of giving us a range of what they think their vehicle will be able to handle. So on the low end, 40 kilowatts for sure, which doesn't sound like much considering, 50 kilowatts is pretty slow, and that's what the Chevy Bolt uses. But remember, Aptera is targeting 100 watt hours per mile, so 40 kilowatts roughly translates to 400 miles an hour at DC fast charging locations, which even if it doesn't sustain that speed for very long, that is still infinitely better than just relying on AC charging, which is what they originally said they were going to do. And I am so glad to hear them change their mind on this one. This is absolutely the right call. And in their announcement video, they very eloquently explained why they originally put that on the back burner. It was because they did not want to accommodate for CCS on the Aptera. They just did not understand how exactly that was going to fit on their design, and they wanted to use the NACS connector, but NACS was not an open standard yet. So basically they were just going to be relying on Tesla destination chargers to charge the Aptera. But they've said now that Tesla has opened up the NACS connector and the design for everybody, that means the Aptera can accommodate for NACS and DC fast charging, which at the low end, they're saying 40 kilowatts shouldn't really be a constraint even in hot environments, but depending on the cooling that their launch edition can do, and depending on how thermally constrained the charging experience is, which may mean if you're DC fast charging and it's like 110 degrees out, it might be a bit limited. But they said on the upper end, they expect to get around 60 kilowatts, which roughly translates to 600 miles of range being added back into the battery pack per hour. Now, again, it might not sustain 60 kilowatts, but still, that is still so much better than relying on 57 miles an hour, which is what they were originally talking about doing with the AC charging method. So I think it makes perfect sense. I've been hoping to schedule an interview with them in the future, and my biggest question about the omission of DC fast charging was just how much money does it really save to not incorporate that hardware, and how complicated is it going to be to add that back? And my guess is because they're funding dependent right now, that likely means that they can still make some tweaks and they can still continue the research and development on the production model, because again, they haven't really started official production and crash testing yet. So that means there was still time for us to give feedback on what we thought of the launch edition, and this was by far, without question, the biggest concern everyone was having. Everyone likes the Luna color, they like the all-wheel drive, they love the solar cells, they love the 400 miles of range, but for many people, including those who voted on my poll, the no DC fast charging was an absolute deal breaker. If you can't quickly get range added back into the battery pack, then it's definitely a no-go. But knowing that this can get from 400 to 600 miles of range added back per hour, that absolutely puts it in the same fast charging capabilities of Teslas and Ioniq 5s or EV6s. That's a lot of miles added back quickly, so I'm very grateful they decided to prioritize that, and in this video showcase that because they're using NACS, the Aptera will be supercharging capable. Now, how exactly that partnership is going to work with Tesla, we don't have a ton of details on yet. Like, will you be able to just plug into a supercharger and start charging, or do you need to plug into a supercharger, download the Tesla app, say in the app what supercharger you're at, and then start charging? They don't have the details on that yet, but because Tesla said in their announcement about opening up NACS that vehicles that accommodate the NACS connector will have access to the supercharging network, I think this is a pretty good indication that Aptera, yes indeed, will be the first electric vehicle in North America to be able to charge at supercharging stations without an adapter and without being made by Tesla. So huge mad props need to go to Aptera for listening to the community, respecting our wishes and respecting our concerns. This is what I love about them. They're just so engaged and they're so active in the community, and I appreciate them for changing course on this one. Before production starts, this is when you want these types of decisions to be made. So absolutely, I'm even more pumped for the Aptera now, whereas last week I was definitely a bit nervous. This is great news, and I hope you didn't cancel your reservation yet, because having an electric vehicle that can charge itself, that can fast charge at 400 to 600 miles per hour, and looks as incredible as the Aptera does, it's just like there's nothing really else like it on the market. So I'm super happy for them, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you once again to everyone supporting this channel over on Patreon. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.